Can you hear me? Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
All
me?
right. Well, yeah, I can hear you. I had to pop the when this thing get out of the way, but I popped that interface off because you know how that is. I still have
Oh,
it.
well, I ain't got my mic connected or anything like that. So I want to start this off. So there's been rumors going around about, you try to get an interview, get the ball rolling on some things, and
Yeah.
so we figured, since I worked with you a bunch, including last night, I
Mm.
figure I interview you.
Now come on, don't give the people the wrong thing. They're gonna think we did a porn scene or something.
Well, ain't that what we
Work
did
with
last
him
night?
last night. All right, Kevin now.
And,
Kevin.
and involved bread and butter with no knives.
Butterknockers.com, the website. Because they
Yeah.
come up with the craziest stuff, but anymore. But
And
yeah,
hamsters.
but yeah, I tried to reach out to one of the podcasts that we had both kind of been affiliated with, Shitty Song of the Week, and I tried to see if they want to do an interview with me to kind of go over whatever type of beef that there still is between us over a misunderstanding, really, in a lot of ways. I mean, from my perspective, it all started with them and their clique or clan or whatever, however you want to call it. They have like a loyal diehard following. They were leaving all these comments, and then they were commenting and talking about you and me and different stuff. And so I put my foot down. I said, man, I don't want y'all to talk about my brand like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if y'all go
Brand's
on there and
everything nowadays.
yeah, I mean, but if I think of it like a business, if y'all come at me like that, I'm gonna have to, like sue y'all or something. I can't have my name out there tarnished like that. So I think there was kind of a misunderstanding. I think they were trying to come at me like a joke, maybe, or they thought it was just like a big joke, but I took it really serious, and we had a kind of a misunderstanding. And so I was wanting to talk about that, get to the bottom of it, and just kind of move on, be friends like they said that they wanted to, but I hit them up and then it was, crickets. So, I
So it
mean,
sounds like
I
to
don't know.
me, the ball's really in their court with everything. You're just, all
Yeah.
right, on to next.
I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, I don't have time. I got, you know what it's like. You and me got so many different projects
Oh,
going on. I mean, we got 2 or 3 albums we're setting on, trying to re-record the lyrics for and make sure everything's exactly right, editing, post-production. So we've always got something going on, but I mean, to them, I guess they thought it was like some kind of fun or something. You know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I ain't too worried about
You
either
know,
one.
that's a crazy thing because people will assume one thing, and then once
Yeah.
they really get to sit down with you, their whole perspective changes. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, we didn't expect all this. Well, of course.
Well,
But
I think one thing I've learned studying artists and composers for pretty much my whole life is I think there's a misconception about us as who we are really, because we have to put on a certain face. I was watching somebody talk about how Tupac was just a different, like he was putting on the persona of living the street life, but when they were having conversations, he was a different guy. And
right.
I think a lot of times people forget, as performers, entertainers, we have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
We have to put multiple faces on. We have our normal face, and then we have when the camera's on or when we're on stage, there's a different persona there that we have to, and that kind of comes back to the branding and how you want your image to be portrayed or seen. But yeah, I think that's very true what you said. People will have their own perceptions about you as an artist or what your opinions are, and then when they meet you,
Mhm.
it's a different story.
Yeah. So moving forward, I think where we need to start, is how did you get your start in doing everything from humble beginnings all the way up to where you're at right now? Tell
Mhm.
us what brought you into what you're doing today.
Oh, well, thank you for that question. It's kind of an interesting story because I don't think it's a story that people really think that it is for me. Um, I first really got started as a fan of music. I wasn't even really somebody that you would think would be like this serious composer, or this guy that's working on all these
Mhm.
projects. I got started just really at a really young age with Charlie Daniels. I remember the devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was,
Yeah.
I remember listening to
Yeah.
that with a buddy when I was 7 years old, and we had it on, I guess, I don't remember what we had it on. I just remember it was a good time. Jump around on the bed, getting crazy wild with me and this other kid, and we were both crazy, wild and crazy kids. And so I kind of kept that passion. In my younger years, I was more focused on writing when I first got into my teens. And I tried to send some stuff off to get it, published, but we
Oh,
didn't really
kind of
like.
like what I tried to do at first, but I was
Yeah.
seeing the
Mhm.
MTV, BT around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe if I send my songs to one of these music video companies, they might, latch on or what. See,
Absolutely.
I think that was around, right when I got in high school, right around that time,
Was that when they had cribs going back then, or was that before cribs?
This was actually the music video like
Okay.
TRL,
Oh, okay.
106 in Park and Rap City and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, well, maybe I write one of my song and type up the email, whatever, and send it off.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, basically for me, I tried to send it off to some poetry societies, and they were like, "Well, you come down to DC and spend a bunch of money to get your stuff done." And then I just kind of forgot about it after that because I was young and I wasn't really focused on. I was focused on being a kid. And then around 16, 17, I started getting into bands. And they wanted me first, really. I didn't really know anything about guitar or anything like that. What they wanted me to do was, write lyrics for them. So I started out writing lyrics, and then around 16, 17, around the same time, I got my first guitar and started fooling with that. And once I got into guitar, it was like a whole different world opened up for me, and I was able to really start to play power chords. And at that time, I mean, everybody wanted to be affiliated with like the post grunge, and that's just was what was big at the time. Kind of the same way that the hip hop and R&B is kind of big now. It was kind of a big cultural thing. So I started off playing like Nirvana songs, Alice in Chains songs, and that's how my writing started. And then it kind of developed into its own thing. I started learning more about how to tune the guitar in certain ways to bring out certain notes. And then I started to get in lessons, and I was in lessons for many, many years. I took lessons from college professors, from local shops, from just different people, and
mhm,
they really taught me about how to play as clean as possible, scale practice.
right.
And then I learned a little bit of classical repertoire, but I was always doing so many different things. I didn't really become like a serious classical, like a lot of the bigger stars like Pepe Romero or Segovia, and they could do like these more advanced pieces, but I could still do the smaller pieces. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was still kind of doing my own songwriting stuff and writing songs. And So, I mean, I just kind of had a really long journey to get to where I am now. But that was kind of the beginnings of, or at least some of the beginnings. And there's a lot more to go along there. But just learning as much as I can. And I never really thought about it as a business. It's just what I wanted. It was my passion. And then, of course, later on, I made it into the businesses and the branding, but I was just releasing whatever I could on SoundCloud and different platforms just to see if, I could, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess the goal was to try to get a label deal back then, because
yeah.
I didn't know about the distribution, doing your own label and that type of thing.
I understand, that's part where I was at, where I was putting everything on YouTube, whatever. I can't even really remember YouTube and SoundCloud, but like I'm still big on YouTube,
Right.
so I mean because I was uploading my comedy videos and all that to
Mhm.
YouTube. So I started doing that like 2013, maybe somewhere around that time. Got a
Mhm.
whole video camera and was, I posted a whole lot and everything like that. So, that to me, when you look back, well, that's distribution, but what we have now, the whole,
Mhm.
well, what's the label? When was it recorded? Did you make chicken that night?
Yeah.
Did you give a kiss to a woman that night on your date? Did you do this? I'm like, my God,
Yeah.
so much information.
Well, and I don't feel like they really make that process at all easy. And we've had that
No.
conversation so many times. But I mean, I have to consistently correct the metadata. We have to correct errors and how things are where they're put. Like there for a while, they were putting everything on the various artists, and they haven't
Oh
done that
yeah.
in a while. But they were like, well, YouTube's gotten too big, so we got to put it on various artists for 2 weeks, and then somehow it magically acclimates back.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
just,
It's like,
you
I
know,
mean,
where do I even begin? It's like these people, you don't know who they are, who are running these
Exactly. It,
things.
it, it just Tom and Bob and Joanne behind the screen, and two
Right.
weeks later, all right, well, can you send another link to your channel so we can make
Yeah.
sure this is connected? You
Well,
know,
and I think a lot of that is they don't really have a clear chain of command. Like you go on the LinkedIn profiles of these groups of these labels, and you see somebody's A&R, but you may not even be dealing with that guy. You may be dealing with Hussein or Bob or Tim or whoever.
yeah,
I mean, so there's a lot of kind of confusion about distribution that you really got to pick up and learn through experience and learn best practices. But yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of started those roots. I mean, just kind of like trying to get something started, and then eventually when I went to Louisville, that's when everything kind of really fell into focus. It seems like just in terms of having access to different studios, being able to play live on a somewhat limited basis and do the things that is there a hoot owl out there?
uh, no, the lights
Oh,
just
it's the
went out.
blinds. Yeah.
Get a little bit of light.
But yeah, I mean in the Louisville days, we had a lot of haters on both of our ends in that town. Still probably do have a lot of people around there that don't like me in particular, but I was very grateful for just the limited, although like I said, it's limited because of the mentality there, but the limited opportunities there, I was able to make the most of them and record albums and play live and do a lot of things all come together in Louisville that I had been wanting to do for many years. And then of course, was lucky enough to meet you and do the wonderful things with you that we've done and are still, still doing. So looking at Louisville in that regard, there's a lot to be thankful of, even though there's a lot of people, like I said, that still don't really like what you're doing. But,
Right.
most of those guys I found, they tend to be life, what I mean? They have that lifer mentality, and they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
committed to, looking at things in a certain light, meaning they don't really believe in chasing your dreams and all that. And I find those are the ones who you get the most hate from. But no, I mean, all in all, I was grateful for a lot of good experiences in Louisville when I was there, and now I'm kind of moving on to the next chapter of what we're doing and the next chapter of what I'm doing with these different releases.
Right. So, I mean, so we got to that point where, I would say to put it, the first time you got on stage, what was your feeling like?
Oh, that would have the first time I think that I really got on a stage was out in Kansas City. There was a couple, well, yeah, there was a couple places out there that did open mic downtown. And I got on stage and I loved it. Now, I mean, I used to get a little bit more um, nervous, as a performer, but I think through the years, just consistently playing kind of has conditioned me. Now, I still obviously, I mean, if I'm in front of a big crowd, you're gonna get a little nervous, but I'm
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm comfortable on stage, and I think that's the thing you gotta strive for is just a certain level of comfort, where you're up there and you feel like you belong. But the first show was that open mic. I would say would probably be the
Also, it
first.
was open mic
Kansas,
night,
yeah, it was open mic night, and there was this cool,
showcase, whatever they
yeah,
usually call
hmm
talent show, whatever.
and there was a cool guy there, and he was talking to somebody. I played, and then I was with my brother at the time, and he played, and I think I played first, if I remember correctly, and got off stage and was just kind of sitting at the bar. And the guy came up and talked to this other guy, and he said, "These guys got some talent. Can you sign them and give them a deal?" I guess he was some kind of label guy, and he said, "Nah,
Hmm.
I can't do nothing with them." And that was my first time on stage, apparently playing through an AR. I never really talked to the guy because I just kind of, at the time I wasn't really thinking about it again like a business. But that was the first time I really played live on was probably there. And then I played a couple other times in Kansas City. I played a lot in Virginia when I moved to Virginia. Played in Petersburg at the Dixie Diner down there, and I played pretty much like a showcase event down there. And man,
Right.
they
Kind of
got
have to
some.
gravitate looking at the food that just came out with the lady with in the bun and everything. Honey, now here's the chicken platter with the gravy on top. Now I
Well,
know you gotta sing now, son. And but it ain't for you. Go ahead, continue singing.
well, yeah, but I mean, they had a nice little stage down there. Of course, that's when
French country diner.
they were doing they doing nights then, and then they switched to doing days. And I don't know if they're still doing days. I think because it was getting kind of wild and dangerous for them at night or something. But I played there, and then when I got into college, I was playing guitar ensemble and got in there, and I had a really good instructor who was the guitar tech for Will Ackerman, and he had went on tour with Will when Will was big, and his name was Bruce Middle, and he's still doing stuff up there. He
Okay.
plays in studios and does all kinds of stuff, just whatever they need. And then when he's not doing that, he teaches guitar lessons at a couple of locations in Northern Virginia where I went to school. And so I learned from him, and he taught me a lot about different scales, more of the music theory aspect and that type of thing. And then I would do solo performances there, and then group performances. And then when I wasn't doing that, I had a college band. And then when I wasn't doing that, I got together with just different people, in the music hall, and we would just, work on different riffs and stuff. So I
Right.
had I had a lot going on pretty much all the time, and that's where I got a little bit more comfortable performing, and performing got a little bit more regular. Also got more experience kind of promoting and that type of thing. And yeah, that was where I got a little bit more experience. And then just tried to get with shows and booking back then, but it still was, people would never get back to
Right.
me. Or I was trying to put live shows on back then, but a lot of it too is where your location is. And we talk about Louisville and that location, and just because
Yeah.
it's so familiar to us. But a lot of it's these people that are running the booking, and they end up putting their friends on, or putting these talent on that
The
they
whole
don't.
buddy system and everything like that. But
Yeah,
since kindergarten's at the king and queen playground days,
yeah,
I got your back and you got me,
right.
even though y'all ain't, don't like talk down on people really, but it's like nothing changes up,
Hmm.
everything stays the same. And what you got to do with talent up and coming. And I'll say this day one when I got into the comedy field, because I
Hmm.
started open mics like that, and then the music came later. But I said that on day one. I said we got to let this upcoming talent, rise and shine. Give them time when the
Hmm.
time, is deserved. Like somebody
Hmm.
like me, I was young around that time. I can't remember. This was back in 2012, so I can't even remember how old I was. Really, maybe in my early 20s. But you put in the time, and everybody knows you're doing great. You
Hmm.
deserve that time. Not giving people who haven't worked their stuff out
Yeah.
and constantly is a cricket show. Nobody's engaging with people on the stage and everything. The crowd's like, what's going on here? This
Yeah.
kid ain't ready. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So and I'll still stand with that. We gotta give the young bucks whatever, the time. Anybody who been putting in time, grind out and see the best what the future deserves all the
Hmm.
time in the world. But around here, of course, they don't see it like that. Hey, you stick to the one model, you be okay.
Yeah.
The in and out of cover groups and the in and outs of open mics and everything like that. I mean, it's not real promising, and I'll still say that, we talk about it all the time,
Absolutely.
I mean, you really get your success outside of your home city
Hmm.
or where you build your foundation at. You get more success outside of that than you do inside your home base.
Yeah.
So,
Well.
speaking of,
Hmm.
booking and everything like that, promoting, I know you had a big thing about promote your own things around the city and everything a couple years back. Everything was going
Hmm.
good, you were learn the ropes? You were putting on good things and everything like that?
Yeah, I was trying to put on shows, and I mean, even bigger shows, but I did put on some relatively good size, drawing shows, because there was a lot of talent and still is that needed somebody that could really put on the face and be, the promoter, kind of like the Paul Heyman of the
Exactly.
situation with ECW. So I was kind of doing that for a little while. But inevitably, the draw in the market wasn't there, and I couldn't really pay people what I wanted to pay them.
Well, that's that's the part that don't feel good. You're like,
And
man,
that's why I was doing shows, but kind of got out of the promotion end because I didn't want to. Well, for one thing, especially around Louisville, the draw is hit or miss, and a lot of the draws in the wrong place, meaning you get a huge draw on something like a tribute show or a cover group. You'll get a huge draw on that, and then
oh
a
yeah,
songwriter night, you show up and there'll be 10 people. There'll be Bob, Jane, Dick, and you get the one Asian
blowjob
guy.
and the heartbreaks.
You'll get the one Asian guy and then maybe the one black guy, and then that's it. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
you're not gonna get, and they're all gonna be focused on looking at the women or playing pool or drinking.
right.
It just wasn't nothing there for me, but I did enjoy, putting on shows and giving other people a chance to shine, because I think, as much as you got to be about yourself, you also got to be about other people too.
Yeah,
Meaning, go ahead. I'm sorry.
like you see telling some people, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can bring this person in, and
Hmm.
they're exactly, maybe they got a little bit less than me, or maybe they're new to the area, but they're sounding good to me. All right, well, let's go ahead and then hook it up, whatever, and
Right.
put them
Yeah.
on.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to give people opportunities too. I think what a lot of people get into the business for is they get into the business for themselves, and you can't always it can't always be about you. You got to get back at the same time and try to support some other people and build something bigger. And I feel like, especially, in a lot of the hip hop culture, there's a lot of this ongoing beef and stuff, and
It's
I just never really been.
nonsense.
Yeah, to me, it's really all it's about is selling records, or
Yeah,
the attempt to sell records. I think a lot of people, like when I see all that, I'm just like, man, I ain't even gonna fool with it, because you already know a lot of it's over silly stuff, and there's a number of artists I can mention, but I'm not going to.
yeah, don't give
But
them that time of day.
But I mean, there's a lot of people out there that just, I think, want that. They have the mindset that any press is good press, and so even if I'm getting this press that makes me look like a clown or a fool, I'm still I'm still in the paper, so I'm still doing something. To me,
Right.
I mean, my version of that is if I have a real problem, we just roll up and settle it. You know what I'm saying? I'm old
Yeah.
school. I ain't about all this do everything online.
Right. Do
If you
everything
got a real
online. Like
problem, we meet in the park.
let's sit down like grown men and talk. Oh, God, we don't want to. I mean, what's the problem? You act like I'm gonna come over here, get a steel chair, and and just attack you or something. I just want to
Right.
sit down and talk. What's the issue?
Well, I
But
think a lot of people make an issue when there ain't one there, just for
but
their own, either for their own personal reasons or they're jealous. I can't even begin to tell you how many people that have got snotty or whatever with me, when I was trying to help them, just because they felt intimidated or felt like the attention wasn't on them. I said, man, y'all act like children sometimes. Children are like that. Like I got a little godson, and he's, sometimes he'd throw a fit, if he don't get everything his way. But by the time you get to adulthood, rather, you're supposed to be able to settle problems and be able to talk to somebody and really work it out, and I've always tried to have that mentality, even with people that have, working with past producers or composers or whatnot, and they got all emotional about it and get upset. And I try to come back to the table and say, well, let's think about it with cooler heads, and let's see if we can work around it instead of being, so tense or whatever over something that's probably just silly to begin with and don't even ain't even a big deal, you know. There was one comedian one time who's now he's getting ready to retire, and he had this long beef with me and still does for the longest time. I hear he still talks about me because I put the mic like 1 dB down because he was coming through hot on the mic, and he thought that that sabotaged his whole performance and everything. And I said, you were just coming through loud and you sounded better once the mic volume was down. So I don't know what the problem was, but some people just like that, man. Some people you're not going to be able to
They like
work with.
hostility, you know.
They just like it. They feed off of it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
You know, somebody like me, I just like come in cool, calm, collected, do my thing, and then
Hmm.
bounce, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've had to negotiate some things with some producers, haven't you? Where things kind of got heated over a
Uh,
couple of things.
yeah, just I don't think they know what they're doing really, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, where do I even begin with that? We go down a long list of engineer proms,
Yeah.
producer, beat makers, and studio time and everything like that. We go that'd be a 1 hour topic going through the list, and we'd probably be not even halfway through.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I'm trying to tell them, I said, if time ain't right, time ain't right, you just gotta give things patient,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm like nowadays we're in that sell market, and when I look at everything, I'm looking at quality, the structure of the song, whatever. I don't want to make well, this is going to be a quick buy for me. I like it when I first heard the first beat drop on 3.2 seconds or whatever, And
Mm-hmm.
now, I gotta, I chase after Pacific Sound, and once I got my eyes on it, and it's time to purchase, it's time to purchase, and like a lot of these people sell,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, I'm like, well, yeah, buddy, there really ain't nothing there, you know what I mean? Not,
Mm-hmm.
I told a couple of that a couple months ago. I said, well, I don't like this one. I think need a little bit more structure. I like the older stuff better than what you just recently produced.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them take offense to it. They don't know how to, oh, you don't want to buy my track? I'm like, no. Nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of them too is their business model. You know what I'm saying? I think they set themselves up where they have to be in that sell mode, or they feel like they have to sell so many tracks.
right.
You know what I'm saying? To obtain a certain level of success instead of just being happy with the sell, and just celebrating the small victories. I feel like our culture accentuates a culture of bigness. Everything's got to be big, 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 big. We got to have the biggest Ferrari, the biggest TV, the biggest, everything. And we forget that we may have things now that are smaller than that we should be thankful for, or just thankful that we're getting a cellar, we're able to record, and I think a lot of people tend to forget that because they, like you said, they want the sell profit model. But I mean, you also got to have something there that's attractive to people. And a lot of these beat makers are putting the same style of beat out,
Right.
same
Copy and paste.
instruments. Yeah,
We're into a level producing our own stuff. We're kind of figuring that out ourselves. Like,
yeah,
whoa, okay, well, I could do the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
structure how I want to structure it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you run back into your engineering prime. If you choose to, mix it yourself or send off somebody, build
Well,
up that.
you got pros and cons with either one. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I
They'll
mean,
sit back in the archives like my stuff for 4 years. Oh well, guess what's out of magic drawer today?
yeah, he don't want to talk about loss. Loss is about ready to be forgotten in that
Oh
archive.
yeah, the block in a row. All right, why can I not write to a song? Something in that. All right, let's set it back. And one day I call this guy. Hey Ron, you want to work on this song? Uh, he's like, oh yeah, yeah. This is my opportunity. Yeah.
Well,
It
I
goes
mean,
around, comes around, huh?
well, my thing about that, you just got to be prepared for the opportunity when it comes. I think a lot of people get opportunities and they're not prepared because they just think that it won't happen, or they think that, oh, whatever, I just do it, and they don't take it serious enough, and I think that you got a lot of that going on. And I think a lot of that is from people telling people that people ain't never going to do anything with, you got a lot of people that kind of spread that narrative that you'll never do anything with your
Right.
music, and that, it's pointless to try to put music out there. 'Cause what's the point? Nobody's making any money off of it. Well, people are making money off of
Oh
it.
yeah, they
That's
was
the thing.
making money off fists.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, they are.
It just quit by. It's like, running the engineering prom, get on one of them forums on online, social
Mhm.
media, and they just say, well, just take the loss and pay it. I'm like, do you not appreciate anything?
Right.
I said, if the parent was on the phone or something, or you said that one of your clients sometime, I bet you say something different. What I'm
Yeah,
saying? They're like,
absolutely.
well, Johnny, we didn't, raise you to be like that, fix the problem and do the right thing, whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, this because I'm just think it tastes better, but this was the zero sugar, so I
oh
try to,
really?
yeah, I don't fool with sugary every now and then I'll have like regular Dr. Pepper or something, treat
Yeah.
myself, but I try to stay away from all that because it ain't really, all that high fructose corn syrup
Oh,
ain't really good for you. But yeah, just
we
go ahead, I'm sorry.
we just let everybody know we left off on the engineer talk, which
Mhm.
that's
I
a
don't even know if I want to go into that because it's
we,
such an
we we'll
emotional.
we'll just move on to the next subject.
Yeah.
And the next question I got for you.
Hmm.
So, in your height of writing music,
Hmm.
record music,
Hmm.
and to now, what was the best time? You know, like let's just start at maybe 2017 to now. I would say that that'd be your best years, right? You know,
Yeah, I'd
or
say it's the
maybe a little
best.
bit before that.
I'd say some of the best times was during the pandemic because, we were all shut down and,
Yeah.
it's one of them things you work on music, wake up, listen to Mac Miller, get yourself some oatmeal and just kind of hang out and work on music. And you didn't have to have the strain because we were all on the PUA. So we
Oh
didn't have
yeah.
the strain of life as much.
Oh yeah. And we're kind of still on them hours a bit, you know, when you go out there to the store and like, man, 3 years later, y'all, Walmart ain't 24 hours, mine ain't
Yeah,
24 hours, Kroger ain't 20. All these restaurants are, well, we close at 7, even though you get off at 6:45.
right.
Or some crazy hours or whatever, I mean, it's like it's just crazy to me, but not, we just gotta live with it because I mean we're not really, well, we can say we're in control, but when we go other places,
Hmm.
no, it's kind of oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was probably, but I mean, I'm still having good times now. I mean,
Oh,
I'm working on, we just re-recorded Deep Truth, the vocals on that,
oh yeah,
which we'll
that's
go
gonna
ahead
be
and let
just
people
like
know. That's going to be sent off to an engineer and then completely remastered. And honestly, I think it's doing the originals more justice. So I mean, I've had so many projects going on lately that I've been pretty content lately as well. I'm just happy to be in a position where I can finally, put stuff out there that sounds really good and really, just the love of doing what I do it for is why I'm in it. I'm not in it for money or all that. I mean,
uh,
if I get paid, that's great. That's I want to
getting
get paid.
money, great, but
But at the end of the day, I'm in this because I love the music and I love it's what brings me happiness. You know,
right,
and I think you got to come into it. I think a lot of people come into the business, um, for the wrong reasons. I think they come into it for, being a star or, they won't be like Chad Kruger from Nickelback. They just think they're going to be a rock star. And I only mention him because they wrote that song years back, how we
right,
all just
yeah.
want to be rock
Oh yeah,
stars.
that was big song, I'm like, oh, this catchy, and it's
Yeah, it
kind of
was
true,
catchy.
it's true.
Yeah, it's kind of true. I mean, everybody just really wants to get into this business for the glamour of it. But I think if you get into it for the right reasons, you'll be a lot more happier because, I don't look at it in terms of, what I get out of it. I remember a story about Nick Drake when he did his first album, Five Leaves Left, and they did the vinyl pressing for Island Records. And he said, or his sister said that he went in her bedroom and just threw an album on her bed, and it was the vinyl copy of that. And they ended up asking him, well, do you love doing music? And he said, well, if it helps somebody or it touches somebody,
Right,
then it's the reward in and of itself. And I
right,
think in our culture, because we're so capitalistic, I think people tend to forget that why they got into it. I think they get caught up in the wrong things or they're not doing it for the right things. There's several artists that you can tell are in that. And we were talking about one, which I'm not going to name him because there's all this hype around him in the Louisville area because of some music videos, and he made a couple Derby appearances. And
yeah,
what I'm talking about. We were watching the Rick
there,
Rubin article interview with him, and he said, "Well, I felt like I had something to prove." And I gotta disagree because I've never felt like I have something to prove. I feel
Right.
like music kind of speaks for itself, and there's people that are gonna fuck with it, or there's people that are not. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But at the end of the day, I'm doing what I feel is authentic to me and what I want to explore. And I think, the best thing when you're doing that is if somebody really enjoys it, then that's the icing on the cake.
Right.
But,
Put your big boy shoes on, go out there and roll with the
yeah,
punches. And
yeah.
hey,
At least you're doing what you feel is
yeah, what you
authentic to
love.
you, and we
Everything
hear,
else
yeah,
is everything else, either you choose to pay attention to the noise or you don't.
yeah,
I choose not to, you just hit that switch off and everything like that. You're just, oh, where's time gone? I'm already recording the next song. Oh, okay. Well, we're getting a little kind of hungry too. Well, let's stop for a 10-minute break, or 30-minute break. We're gonna be,
hmm,
in good hands. But yeah, you just got to put your big boy shoes on. You got to grow thick skin because in the entertainment field, people going to talk about you. You're going to have the blogs, and that's
yeah.
even the blogs and all them other associations with that. And you just got to learn. Well, it what it is. I ain't nothing I can really do about it. Either I can say
Yeah.
something or I just let the speculation continue.
Well, that's like there's a thing on Facebook that I shared to my Facebook page where it said, "You'll always be criticized by somebody doing less than you."
Right.
And I said, I think that's very, very true. You know, most of the people that I know that have problems with me are people that don't have anything going on, or
Right.
people that haven't had anything going on for a while, and they're the reason why they don't have anything going on because how they handle themselves and burning bridges. But yeah, I mean, I think what you said is is very spot on. You gotta just do you and forget all the noise because there's going to be a lot of noise out there. There's going to be people that say all kinds of stuff, and the thing is, you're never going to make everybody happy. There's some releases that I put out that you're like, man, what happened there? And there's some where
Yeah,
where
there was a couple. I'm like, well, this ain't, but that's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is. I said, if you go around trying to cater to everybody and make your
Oh yeah,
releases, you're going to be consistently editing, changing everything, and you just got to accept that it is what it is.
yeah. That's
You
like
know?
somebody came up on my channel the other day and said something, and I'm like, I'm like, what? I'm like, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I said something. Then they end up apologizing. I'm like, really nowadays is you focus on putting out more content because that's the game we're in nowadays.
Hmm.
Put out content like you put out some couple nights ago and then put some out last night.
Hmm.
And that's all you really focus on. And then register the publishing or whatever thing you
Hmm.
got to do to make sure everything's protected, and then just keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So what was your favorite thing recording in the pandemic besides Deep Truth? Did you work on any stuff of your own, or
I worked
like
on an album named Dark Love, which is no longer available. I just felt like the mix quality of what I had put out just wasn't where I needed to. But I was starting to work with a lot of samples, and layering guitars, and what I would do, just kind of like build sample on sample on sample,
Yeah.
which is a lot of what I'm doing now in my own production. And I was pretty happy working on that. I also did some instrumental guitars. These dang phones, they just beep 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 beep
Oh
beep.
yeah.
But so sorry about that. But I did some instrumental guitar stuff that was cool during them. I did a live from home that's still out on Symphonic that was pretty cool. That was just me kind of live in the moment. So I did
Right.
some different projects during that time. But Deep Truth was a big one during right around that time that got done. That was such a big thing for you and me because, well, I had done stuff before, but I hadn't done a lot of the commercial stuff. So,
Right.
well, what I mean by commercial is like it's designed with the intent of being, commercial. Because a lot of the stuff I used to do was just artistic. It was lo-fi.
Mhm.
It was just, being an artist, and it wasn't focused on, okay, well, this got to be ready for a certain level, so it's
Yeah.
got to have a certain
Is this guy
standard.
gonna be elevated for the next level or advanced levels or anything,
Right.
because you just, how I try to do things. I just, you like challenge yourself. Okay, I
Yeah.
done that last time. All right, let's try to do this. Let's see if it
Hmm.
works or don't work. What's you don't do it. You don't know it if you don't do it. But it's just one of them things. And I remember when we got the first song mixed, it was come
Hmm.
so far, and then I think, and I forgot what happened because it
Was
was
that
3 years
before the
ago.
pizza guy or after the pizza
Oh yeah, remember the
guy?
peach guy at the studio, man? What was going on with that guy?
That guy
I
was looking for a bag or something.
he was looking for something. He was a looker, wasn't
That was America's Most Wanted territory
he?
right there. Have you seen this man?
And like went on the pizza, like where's the damn pizza at, Ron? And you're like, I don't know, Bo, but I gotta use the restroom real quick.
Right.
And then all out of the
Yeah.
blue, this uh shadow figure just appeared and like
Well, he
what
didn't even knock. That was the first thing. He just walked right on in. And I remember coming out of the restroom up there, DSL Studios. I just washed my hands and wiped them up. And I turned and you were looking that way. And I looked immediately and I had my hand about half cocked. I was going to take that motherfucker down. And I hate to be like that, but it's like, I don't know who this guy is. I'm in this studio. He looks like he's, dealing drugs or something. You just don't know
Yeah.
him,
Don't
you know.
start, Ron.
And you were like, Ron, don't knock him out. He's a pizza guy. And then I looked down and saw pizza. And so it was like he had this real like weird smile on his face. I don't know. He's a weird dude. He looked like an Italian Luigi on crackers. You know what I mean? He looked like Mario Brothers or something on drugs, and I was like, "What's this guy's deal here?" But man, you run into people like that.
Yeah,
The world's
yeah.
full of them.
But remember we try to shoot the video for it come so far, whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
and we had the whole incident trying to get the camera and everything like that.
Well, remember Murphy's camera down there in the Highlands and everything? They kept wanting to, like, they were giving me a hard
Well,
time
it
renting the
what
camera.
wasn't the one in Middletown or something you had issues with first,
No,
and then
that was downtown Highlands. He didn't want to give it to me because I told him the weekend deal, and apparently the weekend deal was on the cheaper camera, but they thought I meant like the $5,000 camera. So they gave me this thing, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this ain't right. This ain't the weekend deal." And that was apparently the top of the line camera. And the guy was giving me a hard time about renting it out. And I said, what do I got to do? Go get money out of the bank, buy this thing or something? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, just to kind of, they were kind of snobby down there about renting the cameras out. But we finally got the camera, and then the camera lenses were all messed up.
Oh boy.
And then the photos we ended up getting were kind of hit or miss,
Yeah,
but
it was like it was grayscale sky on them
like
days we were shooting.
like it is now, and still
Yeah,
grayscale skies. But yeah, I mean, we had a real tough time, and then we were down in Bardstown, Kentucky, which is a nice little town.
yeah,
Not a bad town at all, really. Um, and we went down to the historic site down there and shot and talked to the guys down there about the history of the place down there. I think that was my old Kentucky home we shot at, Stephen
yeah.
Foster.
I think so.
Yeah, we really went out. I mean, it was a heck of. I remember it was a heck of a trip down and a heck of a trip back that day. But we went down there and yeah, I mean, we shot it come so far and we edited everything, put it out there to the public, and it got pretty good reception. And so yeah, that was a good time. I enjoyed being out on the road, making them movies, having adventures. Sure as heck beat sitting around the house or whatever.
Oh yeah, especially around that time because we were
Yeah,
kind of easing off the pandemic restrictions a little bit.
yeah,
So everybody was still kind of like frightened for a little bit. They weren't, now some places they didn't, that was a whole situation in itself.
yeah.
Some places didn't have everything like the inner city, the bigger city had and everything. So,
hmm
but yeah, that was such a,
He's
great
sorry.
time.
These phones are just ringing off with these crazy people call me all day. I get calls. Will you do this? Do you want to buy this loan? Do you want to know about Medicare Part B? Do you want to do that? No, I just want to be
No.
left alone.
Tell the bank said I've been robbed already. I
Well,
ain't got no fun.
that's all they care about is
Oh, well, it's sell, sell, sell. We don't care if you ain't got the money or not, but if you're asking some yourself, well, we can't help you. Sorry.
and that's like that everywhere. It's like that with the government. It's like that anymore with everybody. It's pay
Yeah.
us, but the minute you need our help,
Oh,
guess what?
the moment you need funding for a video or something, you like got crowdfunding and everything. That's a whole nother market. It's kind of,
Mhm.
I had a couple investors at the time, but I didn't have, I didn't think the situation felt right. So I just shut the thing down. Once you get that gut feeling, you're like, yeah, yeah,
That's like that
no,
one contract I got from God, who was that group up there? Some group out of New York, and I was reviewing the contract, and it was just supposed to be an exclusive distribution deal. I get halfway into the contract, and it says, "Well, we'll take 50% of the publishing for everything out." And I hit him back, and I said, "So." What's this with all the publishing? It's just for distribution. Well, we gotta have the publishing in there too. So I said, well, I'm gonna
mm,
go ahead and pass. And I thanked them for the opportunity. But I said, I can't sign this deal like this. Can't be giving away publishing and all that,
yeah, don't say
without
you publishing.
you really shouldn't. I mean, you should
I
try to keep as much of that as possible. Now, I mean, if you gotta make a strategic move, then that's
like
one thing.
if you're up in the age or something, I mean, I
Yeah,
can understand that, but if you're,
yeah.
somebody around our age, whatever, and
hmm
one alarm goes off, well, is a person that broke or really and just putting on a front, whatever,
Yeah.
you just ask questions, but somebody like me or you, the way we're going about things, how we're building our catalog even more every day, just think about stuff now ain't even out on the market, and you're
Hmm.
like, man, I got all this, I'll sign a deal. Maybe I might sacrifice one of these albums or whatever. I just made one day, record 'em one day, whatever, give it to y'all, and just walk away, whatever.
Well, you got to
But
be strategic, and that's the
yeah,
thing that they don't teach. That's the thing that I can't really teach you. You got to get your strategies from people. You got to study people, study the people in your circle that are doing things, and you got to figure out what your strategy is going to be. And then you go and you make an offer. And I mean, I think a lot of people just afraid to make an offer because they're afraid that,
yeah.
well, if I make an offer and they shut it down, if they shut it down, they shut it down. I mean, you just keep a
I mean,
business.
just
As long as you keep a business relationship with them
say
and
now you
and
go in
don't
there
get emotional.
wailing.
Yeah.
This is
That's
this is my life. You don't understand. I mean, things take turn for the worse. Let's just say the guy from earlier, uh, where you were talking about the 1 dB microphone prime, if he
yeah.
walked in with and he was going to get a deal on the table, whatever, just imagine that guy, well, this guy just went off on the microphone. How's this guy, if we decline his offer, going to act? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, people want professionals and they want you to be professionals and you want to work with professionals. And I work with some people that have not been professional. I worked with a pianist one time and I don't even know where to begin. He demanded everything be on his terms.
Right.
Uh, I had to, go to these extra lengths just to try to make him happy. And then he sabotaged the release by releasing his own instrumental version
Oh,
of the
yeah.
same
You,
piece. So he did his own thing on our collaboration and basically took a dump on, everything
yeah.
we had done. And he was just demanding, and I couldn't make him happy. And that guy ain't really worked with anybody else since then, too, because
Right.
you know, I mean, I understand you got to get what you want out of it, and that's fine. I want people to be happy with it, but there's a limit with all that too. You
Right.
can't, it can't be all emotional and
Right.
demanding
Uh,
and
res-
begging and or
respect
whatever.
everybody's time when you come to, working on respect everybody's time, agree on something, and move on. Don't be going, well, I think my version's better, so I'm going to release it. But I'm the guys. I said, you just lost all credibility and respect and everything. And like you said, he hadn't worked with anybody since then. That just, you
Well, it's a
know,
shame because the guy had a talent, and I tell he was releasing on label distribution and everything, but none of that matter. I mean, that's what y'all don't
I don't
realize.
know,
None of that matters at the end of the day. What
respect
matters
and
is
character,
how you treat people. You gotta
how you
treat
treat
people with
people.
respect. Yeah,
You
for real.
know, uh, as long as you do them two things, you got good character, respect people in their space and everything.
Yeah.
Everything go a long ways. But soon, either one of them two things don't, you know, uh, you know, let's just say, don't go the right way, whatever. Soon you lose somebody respect. That's the end of that business, mean deal, whatever case may, relationship, partnership.
Hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that. That's like, me, I try to build relationships with people. You lay down the groundwork. Hey, this I think is right. And a lot of people, just got different ways of doing things, and
Mhm.
People got their own agenda, I mean, okay, well, I'll try to be a team player, whatever, You don't want to be a team player, it's on to the next. But I'm always here. You ever want to work, but that's one shot, one chance only opportunity,
Yeah.
you know. Just look at, how we started on Abuse in Mexico years ago. Hey, Ron, you want to play guitar on the Views of
Mhm.
Mexico? I said, oh,
Mhm.
well, sure, Then next thing you know, we went down this whole duet career path and everything,
Mhm.
Now we got all these projects. Worked on one last night, Well,
Mhm.
started working on one last night. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Uh, once that protein hit, and it's the end of times. But you know all about that.
Mhm.
But so what was your favorite song you recorded this fall of your own?
Mm. That's a tough one right there of my own. Um, I have a few. I think one I have to mention is "Come Home," which I've done the live performances on
Right.
recently, and a music video that I just dropped for that. A lot off Timeless Love I like just because of I was so happy to do that. But Come Home, I think, has a real special meaning. Um, because all my families have served. I was actually one of the ones that I guess I was the odd duck because I never really did
Yeah.
officially enlist.
He's an
But
odd duck, but let's get him work on that fence line as soon as he comes home from the Lucky Diner down there on 9th Street.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, for me that message of we need to live better, I think, is one that I'm proud of. There's another song that I've got to get mixed where I talk about overcoming things.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, and I got to get an engineer to mix that and put everything together for it. But I'm really proud of that because I believe in a better world where we all have value, regardless of our skin color or anything like that. I think we all have value. We all have something we can offer, whether it's just existing, in peace with one another. We don't all have to be creatives and create, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But we can all value each other and treat each other better and strive to live better. And that's one thing I think that in previous generations they had that we don't really see a lot of. I see a lot of focus now. The conversation is on, well, what's the difference between people or political groups or this or that? Not how can we, live a better life, get a better work system together, get a better wage together. How do we redesign college in a way that makes it relevant? How do we tackle education? How do we tackle poverty and the things that people are still struggling with? How do we make our government better? Nobody wants to talk about those types of questions. Probably because there's no money in it. There's money in being divisive, I'm sure, because you get everybody riled up. But what are you
yeah,
really accomplishing that, what are you really leaving behind as a legacy for that? So those are just a couple of examples of songs that I'm proud of because I'm proud of the idea that they hope for a better, we can live a better life. And I think that's one thing my brand's always been about is have a better understanding of people and from all backgrounds. You got to love everybody for their good and for their bad as well. Everybody's gonna have flaws, but we we could be doing so much more together than all this divisive language that you
Yeah,
hear nowadays in the news. We could be trying to really build a better world.
yeah, come together and everything like that. Everybody want to play that jealous and envy game. I'm like, like Pimp C once said, he said, if we all come together, we can make all this money,
Yeah.
and we unite, they can't stop us.
Yeah. Well, and I think the Houston scene, if I'm not mistaken, at the time had a lot of the beef, that a lot of the back and forth that you see nowadays in the, left and right thing. And I think he was trying
Yeah.
to let people know we can live a better life. And that's one thing that, as a brand, that I've always that's what Prayer for Peace was about. That's what a lot of the songs, if you'll look, have really been about underneath the surface is how can we live in a world where we treat life with more value? And that's not like an abortion thing. I don't want it to come across that, but I mean, I feel like we oftentimes forget the value that people bring
Hmm.
and hurt in themselves. You know what I mean? Just to have a conversation with, or live with, or talk to, or experience with, have a meal with.
Right.
It doesn't always, I think a lot of times people think it has to be, I got to make money off this person or something like that.
Or they
But you
just
could,
hear something about somebody and
yeah,
then they'll just run off that narrative, whatever, and be, oh, well,
yeah,
and just keep on adding more and more. And like, well, have you ever talked to that one person? No, no. Well, how do you know this, that, this, that? Well, somebody told me, well, maybe that person who told you whatever ain't telling you the truth. And 9 times out of
right,
10, that's, you know,
yeah.
pretty much what happens.
Well, a lot of that goes on. Absolutely. A lot of
Oh,
that he said, she said, all that,
yeah, yeah,
and you got to realize people got a motive for saying all that. You know what I mean? People usually got a motive for, they want to get you to have a certain reaction or get you to, do this, do that because of it. So, I mean, you gotta base everything on your gut and what you're seeing with your eyes, and go more on that than what people are telling you. And you gotta be real careful on who you're listening to too. If I had listened to all the people that I had talked to, man, where would I
oh,
be?
yeah.
I mean, from the vocal teacher that said you can't do nothing with craft or anything like that. Not only that, to the people that said that, I shouldn't work with you, or that I was more talented, or, there was so many people that were trying to feed me, crap, because I just wanted to be a part of their I just wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want anything out of it. And I think that upset a lot of people because they're used to people with motives. I just wanted to be along for the ride. But what I found was, trying to go on that ride was full of people putting thumbtacks in front of the road trying to take my tires out. You know what I mean? That's what I ended up finding along that ride. And so, you know, the truth is, majority of people ain't got love for you, and that's a hard pill to swallow. You know,
Yeah.
and you know all about that because you've
Oh,
had.
yeah, I do. I'm finding out every single day. I'm like, well, all right, on to the next.
Yeah.
You just can't let stuff stop you, whatever.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it is what it is. So,
Hmm.
as we wrap up this conversation,
Sure.
what's next for Capitol Road in near
Hmm.
future? What can we expect from you?
Well, you'll expect consistency, more output, meaning more projects, more albums dropping, and you're just gonna continue to see me, hopefully do more and more, and um, Hey, I mean, out here working, living life, trying to have fun, doing the right things, hopefully, and just get reaching those bigger goals. I've got hopefully I'm gonna get published at some point. I've got some short stories that I've got to get edited and get them out, and I want to try to get them out to the market. I've got some more albums, some R&B stuff, some country stuff, different
Oh,
types of production, alternative stuff, a lot of soundscape compositions. And so I've got a
I've
lot
been
of
seeing a
just
whole
different.
lot of that recently.
Yeah,
Like
I've been.
every night of the week, this week so far, I'm like, I'm getting out of the shower, sitting on the edge of the bed, cat over there, you got TV on, Nature Channel, and
Yeah.
Capitol Road just released four new video drops, an album. Next day, another album drop. It's like, but it's the best thing to do nowadays.
Yeah,
Keep
absolutely.
busy. All right, well, if I'm planning on getting on the label side distribute like UMG or Sony
Mhm.
and anything goes, are they going to be able to handle?
I don't know. The distributor I'm working with now can barely handle and keep track of it. I'm out working the label, the real label. So
Yeah.
it's one of them things. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Hopefully, good things, bigger things. I'd love to do some live shows. I'd love to do some more interviews and stuff like that. So we'll see how all that pans out. Got to be for the right reasons, of course.
Oh
Other
yeah,
than that,
it's
you
like
know,
Bully Ray say about when the indie wrestlers book
yeah,
the events and everything. Make sure you got transportation, hotel, lodging, food, and everything like that. Most certainly, make sure you get paid. You know,
absolutely.
and a lot of people don't. They're like, well, I'm ready to go down to this venue for $200 with the PA that I bought for $2,000, and it's just me and the guitar, whatever, and 200, and I got to drive back to
Hmm.
Nebraska, and I got to
Yeah.
drive down there to Georgia for $200.
Well, I just want to say this. Thank you so much, Mr. Harris, for your time and for this interview.
Oh no, no problem. Anytime.
All
We'll
right. Well,
link
I'll be
up if you're
seeing you
ready for
soon.
another interview.
All right. Bye.
All right now. Take care.
All right. You too.
All right, everybody. It was Cabot Road and Bo Daddy Harris. Me, Bo Daddy Harris. So I hope y'all enjoyed that interview with Cabot Road, and there's more to come.